Cardano's price lagged behind some of its competitors, including Solana and Avalanche, during the mini altcoin run that we saw kicking back in October of 2023. However, with Bitcoin now only 5% away from a brand new all-time high and the impeding altcoin season, we're now starting to see Cardano wake up, leading the pack in the last 48 hours. And as a part of today's video, I want to break down all the updates going on in the ecosystem. What's up, Ada Nation? Welcome to Dapp Central, your home for everything blockchain and crypto. I'm your host here, Fareed. As a part of today's video, we're diving into all of the biggest updates going on here in Cardano. And boy, oh boy, is this particular one a big one. So first things first, I want to take a look at the Cardano price. We just saw Cardano wicking right into the 79-cent range, right almost into 80 cents, which is going to be a new all-time high for the year of 2024, following a huge leg up beginning back in October of 2023, with Cardano now nearing almost a 200% gain in the last 6 months alone. Second, I want to jump into the weekly Cardano development report, quickly touching on Project Catalyst, as well as some recent updates with respect to Plutus V1. After that, I want to jump into the Edinburgh Decentralization Index. This was announced about a year ago by Charles Hoskinson in collaboration with the Edinburgh University, and we now have the alpha release of this platform, which aims to track the decentralizations of the top blockchains. And take a guess who's coming in at number 1. After that, I want to quickly take a look at XSY. If you guys don't recall, there was a recent stablecoin venture with Sean Ford and I believe it's Kyle Markley from the Algorand community. And we now have the initial beginnings of a brand new company, which will be aiming to bring stable assets into the Cardano ecosystem. Last but not least, I want to talk about the Nami wallet. There's been a recent issue with resolutions for ADA handles and those going to smart contracts held by the JPEG.store team. So without any further ado, as always, if you do enjoy updates like these, I would appreciate you if you could smash that thumbs up. If it's your first time stopping by Dapp Central and you want more content like this highlighting everything going on in Cardano, consider subscribing. And last but not least, if you have any questions for me surrounding any of the topics and highlights for today, then make sure to go ahead and leave a comment down below. Now, lastly, if you do want to earn ADA as well as the Matera governance token between epochs number 451 all the way to 493, if you delegate to the stake pool, you will be able to earn that. Jumping into the first piece here for today's video, I want to take a look at the Cardano price. As you guys can see, we're now trading at around 78 cents. Just a couple of hours ago, we were right at the 79-cent range, just about to touch 80 cents. We've officially broken out of the 44-cent to about 68-cent zone, in which we were there for about 2 to 3 months after breaking out of the 24-cent zone, breaking into that 48-cent zone not too long ago. So if we take a look between now and the sort of next point of resistance that I have laid out here, that would bring us to anywhere between $1 to $1.20, which is an additional gain of about 50% from where we currently are. One thing to note right now is the fact that Cardano is up 7% looking at the broader market, compared to Polygon or Matic only up by 1%. AVAX or Avalanche up by 2.5%, and Solana up by 2%. What's interesting is that we saw Cardano sort of lagging in the very first leg up. So this was the leg up from about 24 cents to about that 40-cent range. And we also saw Cardano lagging from about that 44-cent leg up all the way to about all the way to 68 cents. Now, what we're seeing is that Cardano is actually one of the first few tokens to break out of this second, or I should say third leg, compared that to, for example, here Matic, which has yet to see highs relative to what we saw back in October. Very similarly, we have Avalanche, which saw an all-time high of about 48 to 49 dollars, and that has yet to break past that all-time high, where Cardano has broken its all-time high previously that was set around that 68 or 69-cent range. Very lastly, we do have Solana breaking out. However, they have yet to actually push up as hard and as quickly as Cardano. So even though people like to tend to make fun of Cardano, we are starting to see Cardano gain more dominance. And if I take a look at the ADA dominance here, we can see a pretty big spike up here in the last couple of days. So again, keep in mind, this is a much longer time frame, looking at the Cardano dominance beginning to fade during the bear market. And we've now seen a pretty dramatic increase here of the dominance shooting up about 41%, again, in the course of the last 5 to 6 months, as soon as we saw Bitcoin breaking from 32,000, jumping all the way now, right, to $65,000. So Bitcoin is only about 5 to 6% away from a brand new all-time high. Historically, once we get a new Bitcoin all-time high, we tend to see altcoin season begin about 3 to 4 weeks following that. So again, make sure to go ahead and get ready here. Jumping back into Bitcoin, I want to take a minute just to quickly show you guys. Again, here's the all-time high that we set all the way back in November of 2021, and we are just within a couple of percent points. So there you go, about 5.52% away from jumping into that $69,000 range. After that, again, we're expecting Bitcoin dominance to begin to break down from its current levels of about 54%. And if I jump back a little bit, this was the altcoin run that we had, in which Bitcoin had dropped from a market dominance of about 72% all the way down to a market dominance of about 40%. Again, since then, we've seen Bitcoin, which typically leads, right, these bull markets, pick back up in dominance beginning back in November or October, and it's jumped up from about that 40% all the way to 55%. But you could imagine or expect a huge altcoin run as soon as we begin to see that dominance breaking down and heading back towards that 40% range. So that'll kick things off there for that very first piece. Let me know if you guys would like a little bit more content surrounding TA. Again, not necessarily giving price predictions, right, but at least highlighting what's going on in the market, especially as things begin to get more volatile moving forward. Next, I want to jump into the weekly Cardano development report. This will be a pretty quick update here. Again, not much really changing on the right-hand side there. We have over 160 builders, 1,300 projects building with over 35,000 Plutus scripts deployed. Looking on the left-hand side there, we have reference scripts now supported for Plutus V1, which I do want to quickly touch on. So if you guys recall, we saw reference scripts updates being introduced as a part of Vassal or Plutus V2. And if I jump over here, that was actually included as part of SIP number 33 in the Vassal hard fork, which came in around the September time of 2022. Now, when it states here, or what it states here with respect to SIP number 33, is that typically when you spend an output locked with the Plutus script, you must include the script in the spending transaction. This causes two issues, right? The first is that it creates larger transactions, resulting in higher fees. And then the second is that these transactions actually have size limits, right? So depending on how big your script is, that could limit how much you're actually able to fit or how much logic you're able to compute, in that particular transaction. So what we saw was the introduction of SIP number 33, which introduced the ability for us to reference scripts without including them directly in the transaction, making a huge impact when it comes to the size and throughput of transactions taking place here on Cardano. So that's a pretty big update here with the fact that that has now been retroactively added to be supported as a part of Plutus V1. We've also got some updates for the Mythal distribution. We've also got a new Cardano node version available on the Sancho net. Now, last but not least, I want to quickly touch on Project Catalyst. We just saw funding round number 11 ending. We're now voting on 6 different locations to have the kickoff event for funding round number 12. But we now have the 300 projects which were awarded a total amount of 50 million ADA, roughly about $35 million USD, now being onboarded. So we're going to begin to see them getting their first ever disbursements as they begin to knock out the first or initial milestones. And we should hopefully begin to see some of these projects be completed later in this year or brand new jumping into 2025. That'll do it there for that brief update surrounding the weekly development report. Next, I want to quickly highlight the fact that the Cardano blockchain has now processed over 10 million blocks, or there have now been 10 million blocks minted. Keep in mind that Cardano currently has over 3,000 stake pools. We've had many come and go. Those are just the ones that are currently live and minting blocks. But collectively, the entire ecosystem or the entire blockchain has now verified more than 10 million blocks. Some things to keep in mind here with just the resiliency of Cardano is the fact that throughout this time, we've had 0 bits of downtime. The Cardano network has now been up for over 2,300 days, second to only Bitcoin, which has been up for over 4,000 days. I highlighted the fact recently that we saw the Avalanche network going down. So that streak in terms of uptime for that has kind of been tarnished. We've also seen Solana going down about a month ago. So Cardano really beginning to shine, again, showing its uptime, its resiliency, and security. In addition, we have zero smart contract exploits taking place here on the ecosystem. We have had some different type of scams taking place with people that necessarily aren't aware, in which they're able to be socially engineered to sign transactions. But there have been zero smart contract exploits that have actually occurred here on the chain. In addition, we're continuing to see Cardano DeFi and just Cardano TVL beginning to soar, breaking into new all-time high territory. And I believe right now, as it stands, the Cardano TVL in terms of US dollars has now broken over $400 million, and that has been steady over the course of the past couple of months as the valuation of ADA in USD has continued to rise. In addition, we're getting more and more decentralized. That's actually going to take me into this next piece here, which is surrounding the Edinburgh Decentralization Index. So we had Charles in Edinburgh a while back breaking down the fact that within the Web3 and blockchain space, there's no really solid way to identify how decentralized a particular blockchain is. So in partnership with the Edinburgh University, IOG put together a team that was solely focused on providing ways to measure and ways to quantify how decentralized a blockchain is. So without any further ado, I want to highlight why, but then also what is the actual EDI or Edinburgh Decentralization Index measuring. And then I want to highlight some key metrics here as a part of their alpha release. So with respect to why they've actually created the EDI, it states here that the field of decentralization metrics are new, and that there's no universal way, right, which is accepted as to measuring how decentralized a blockchain system is. Now, this is either within the industry, academia, or even when it comes to regulatory communities. You can imagine that with something like the EDI, if they're able to sort of get some sort of regulatory backing, that this could be the go-to way to quantify how decentralized a blockchain is to governments when they're beginning to review, how to put out new laws. So again, I think this is a huge step forward here, really seeing IOG and the Edinburgh University pushing the entire space forward. Now, the EDI will collect primary data and conduct conceptual work to create net metrics for decentralized systems in blockchain, distributed ledger technology, and cryptocurrencies. In terms of how this is going to work, the EDI will take numerous metrics from different disciplines, such as economics, information theory, and network science, and measure them across different dimensions of blockchain systems, assigning different weights to them all. Now, these will then be merged into a single index that will represent the overall decentralization of a system. So jumping over into the actual alpha that was released not too long ago, we have a few things which are now being measured and shown. The biggest and probably the most important will be the Nakamoto coefficient. And if you're not familiar with the Nakamoto coefficient, this basically represents the minimum number of entities that collectively produce more than 50% of the total blocks within a given time frame. So we have the following networks being captured, which include Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Cardano, Ethereum, Litecoin, Tezos, and Zcash. I'm going to talk about potential integrations for future blockchains. But as we can see, just kicking things off here with the Nakamoto coefficient, Cardano is well ahead of the pack compared to its peers. Again, Cardano right now standing at a Nakamoto coefficient of 58. Now, this data, I believe, dates all the way back to June of 2023. I'd love to see this more updated. But as you guys can see, Cardano being stand away from the rest of the competition, the closest one being Tezos with a Nakamoto coefficient of 7. But I do want to quickly also highlight that we are missing some key competitors, right? So what I personally would love to see would be the inclusion of additional blockchains, for example, like Solana, Avalanche, Polygon, Celestia, Injective. These are all other up and coming blockchains that I tend to think are a little bit more decentralized than some of the early competitors that they've picked to compare Cardano to. However, nonetheless, it is extremely exciting to see this finally being released to the general community. I've checked the Nakamoto coefficient for Cardano on multiple other websites, seeing it listed somewhere around the 30 range, but it's really good to see that that is actually incorrect in that we have a much higher Nakamoto coefficient based off of the Edinburgh Decentralization Index. Now, I will be diving into this more, and I'm going to release a fully dedicated video breaking down all of the inner workings and other additional features coming out with the EDI in the near future. Some of the other metrics that they also keep track of include the Gini coefficient, the Shannon entropy measure, the Hirschman Index, as well as the Teal Index and the max power ratio. Again, I'm going to break these down in a separate video, so I just want to keep this very light and very sort of overview level, but I wanted to highlight that this here. In addition, we're also going to get a tokenomics layer coming very soon. So imagine being able to compare the core Cardano tokenomics, right, compared to Ethereum, compared to Bitcoin, etc., to be able to see exactly what tokens were allocated to what parties and exactly what kind of impact those tokenomics have on the adoption, the growth, the inflation or deflation of a particular blockchain there as well. If you want to find out more about the Decentralization Index, they do have a documentation page which breaks down all the supported ledgers, which I highlighted earlier, which include Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Cardano, Dogecoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Tezos, and Zcash. Now, this is running under an open source license as well, and it states here that everyone is welcome to contribute to this EDI index by proposing or implementing their ideas. This can be done including, but not limited to, reporting potential bugs, supplying useful information for the mappings of supported ledgers, adding supported ledgers yourself, or making core code more efficient. So Cardano really kind of putting their money where their mouth is, not only putting out a decentralized index, but allowing for the community to upgrade it and manage it themselves in a fully decentralized manner. I'll leave the link to that particular GitHub down below if you want to find out more about how to contribute and download the core code for the EDI. So that said, if you guys are enjoying today's video, as always, I would appreciate you if you could smash that thumbs up. If it's your first time stopping by Dapp Central and you want more content like this, highlighting everything going on in Cardano, consider subscribing. And last but not least, if you have any questions for me surrounding anything we've chatted about, then please make sure to go ahead and leave a comment down below. As I mentioned earlier, if you want to take it a step further in supporting the channel, consider delegating with the official Dapp Central stake pool, which is stake pool ticker DAPP. As I mentioned earlier as well, you will be earning ADA and Matera of all the way up until epoch number 493. Jumping into this next piece here, I want to quickly highlight XSY. If you guys missed this article, this was released a while back. We saw IOG creating a brand new stablecoin venture, onboarding Sean Ford as the CEO and Kyle Markley, who both have a lot of experience bringing stablecoins into the Algorand ecosystem. And so we now have the announcement of XSY. I'll go ahead and leave the link to their official X page down below if you want to follow them. But it states here that XSY will be unlocking capital efficient systems through the utilization of blockchain technology. Now, jumping over to their website, which is available at XSY.fi, it's very bare bones right now, basically highlighting their commitment to inclusivity and stability, as well as recognizing some of the transformative powers of stable assets, which I believe will be their core focus here moving forward. Now, I'm not going to break down this entire article. I do have just a brief piece sort of highlighted here. Again, reintroducing the onboarding of Sean Ford and David Markley. But at the very bottom here, it states that at XSY, we recognize the critical role of stable assets in mitigating uncertainties, reducing transaction costs, and enabling a seamless flow of commerce. This has been something that has also been mentioned when speaking about Midnight, is the fact for stable pricing. So as an example, think of, for myself personally, something like Amazon. I pay a monthly bill to get all of the Amazon services, and every single month I know what that particular Amazon rate will be. Now, in blockchain technology, if you want to have people paying for things in ADA or for reoccurring services in ADA, because the value of ADA is constantly fluctuating, it's very hard to provide any sort of predictive pricing, which is why we have stable coins introduced into this ecosystem. Most notably in Cardano right now, we have IUSD developed by Indigo. We've also got JED developed by Cody. We're expecting USDM here in just less than 2 weeks, in which I'm gonna have an update for you guys surrounding that in just a little bit. But we want more of these stable assets. So it's going to be XSY's job, it's going to be Sean Ford's job, and Kyle Markley's job to bringing more of these stable assets into the ecosystem. So we could have additional fiat-backed stablecoins, crypto-backed stablecoins, commodity-backed stablecoins, or even algorithmic stablecoins or tokens launching here on Cardano. Obviously, as we get more information surrounding that, I'll make sure to go ahead and raise that here with you all. The very last topic I want to jump into as a part of today's Cardano Scoop is surrounding the Nami wallet. So Nami is arguably one of the biggest wallets in terms of integrations and just usability within the Cardano ecosystem. That's definitely the easiest wallet that I've personally used, and one of the wallets that I've seen supported on most of the dApps here in this ecosystem. However, there's been a minor issue. So back in, I want to say 2021, around the December timeline, we saw the integration of ADA handles into the Nami wallet. Now, what this allows for you to do, the ADA handles themselves, is to simplify sending and receiving assets by plugging in a human readable value, which is then translated or resolved into a Cardano wallet address. Now, as you could imagine right now on something like jpeg.store, there's over hundreds of thousands of these ADA handles currently listed. What we've recently seen are reports of members from the Cardano community sending assets from their Nami wallet to a particular ADA handle. However, they're not actually receiving the requested transactions at the address at which that actually sent them to. And so this had been reported a few times. However, over the course of just the last couple of days, the IOG team, which has now taken over support for the Nami wallet, recently came out saying that they were taking some precautionary measures in disabling ADA handle features or ADA handle support or ADA handle resolution in the Nami wallet because of this particular bug. So if I jump back over here, I want to quickly highlight what was released by Smog, in which he states here all the transactions sent to jpeg.store NFT script addresses without a datum. This basically means that all the assets sent to these scripts are basically kind of locked and gone forever, which is unfortunate. But he also states that, if I'm not mistaken, that this could show that Nami's bug has likely been around for a long time. So again, if you have ever sent something from your Nami wallet utilizing ADA handles and you never received it, you may have been susceptible to this bug, especially when dealing with ADA handles that may have been extremely long in length or ADA handles that may have been truncated in the actual process. So if I jump back over into this post here by the Wild Tangs team, they have a really nice thread breaking down their investigation into this potential bug. But the very conclusion states here that consider this following scenario where I open up my Nami wallet and I want to send a transaction or some tokens to, for example, the Dapp Central ADA handle. If I were to type that in, the Nami wallet would resolve that and give me a little green check mark. But as soon as I would delete that or overwrite that with another address and quickly hit send, what we would see is that the wallet would have some sort of issue or some sort of bug following up and actually sending to that brand new address that I quickly entered there at the very end. So it seems like that may be one of the ways that this bug has been introduced into the wallet. But I want to be clear in stating that we have had an official statement from the ADA handle team themselves stating that they did notify, I believe it was Alessandro who was developing and managing the Nami wallet at the time when this was initially introduced. Now, unfortunately, no updates were made since then, but we have not seen this being reported by any sort of other wallet that supports ADA handles. So for example, the Jira wallet, the Lace wallet, Typhon, I believe, also supports the ADA handle standard. None of those have been impacted. It only has impacted the Nami wallet. So if I jump back over into here, we did see Charles Hoskinson actually releasing a tweet himself following his recent attendance at ETH Denver, stating that the team is putting together a team to handle cases of some of these issues where things were not delivered where they were supposed to be. In that it's going to take time, but they will have a dedicated funnel for people to report any of their messed up transactions. Now, stating that, following that, the team at Nami or IOG has decided to disable the ADA handle feature, which again should remove any risk from this continuing to happen over the course of the next couple of weeks as they identify and probably put out some sort of post-mortem surrounding how this happened in the first place. So jumping back into the actual screenshot here, we can see that there are multiple days where we have more than 30 different transactions being sent to these scripts locked by the jpeg.store team, which again indicates that these may have all been instances of this particular bug occurring. So unfortunate situation. I've seen multiple reports of people sending, anywhere between 10 to 15 or even 20,000 ADA, not being able to receive it, therefore basically having it be locked. So it'll be interesting to see exactly, what IOG does moving forward to make people whole. Hopefully they are able to reimburse them entirely, but that has yet to be seen. And of course, as we get more clarity surrounding that, I'll make sure to release more updates. That will do it here for today's Cardano Scoop. Again, a jam-packed update touching on the Cardano price, touching on the weekly development report, the integration of reference scripts for Plutus V1 scripts, or for Plutus V1, I should say. And then in addition to that, talking about the EDI or the Edinburgh Decentralization Index, as well as XSY, and last but not least, Nami. As always, if you found this particular video to be helpful, I would appreciate you if you could smash that thumbs up. If it's your first time stopping by and you want more content like this, consider subscribing. And last but not least, if you have any questions for me, then make sure to go ahead and leave a comment down below. That said, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.